All right, guys, so here we are. End of the day session's coming up. We've got Mr. Jennings here, Michael Jennings with us from Athlos Products and Services. He's going to be sharing some of this conversation that we're having about character and movement, performance, character, and movement, how we're tying those pieces together. I'm not going to steal a lot of his thunder. He's going to be sharing some of that with you. We want to make sure that you understand that after this session, you've got a huddle, because I'm going to give all the time to Michael so that he can be able to get through his presentation. If you have questions, you can drop them in the chat. I'll try to help moderate as well. But outside of that, Mr. Jennings, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, everybody. And I appreciate everybody's ability to sit down and listen to even more Zoom talks and chats. Mr. Nicely and I were actually talking yesterday. We don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, how well everybody's Zoom etiquette has come along. So kudos to everybody for understanding the mute button, understanding that you can turn on and off your camera, which is very important. Especially today, I am going to be asking a lot of people as often as possible to be participating. You do know that just like we tell our students and we ask our students at the end of the day, yes, it can be tough, but it makes it a lot better if we're actively engaged. So I'm going to encourage everybody to leave their microphones muted if possible, but their screens on. That way we know that we are here, that we know that we're in a part of this together and we're working to get ourselves and our ducks in a row. So with that being said, I do like to remind people when I'm on these calls, if you're a gallery view person like I am, I'm warning you that if you try to pick your nose, I'll probably see it. So if you're going to pick your nose, maybe turn your computer or turn your video off. But otherwise, please try to stay actively engaged. It makes everything a lot more enjoyable, especially because this is going to be recorded. So everybody will be able to see you picking your nose if you don't. So with that being said, like I am going to talk to you today about school culture. I am going to share my screen with you here momentarily, if that's all right. And the emphasis behind kind of this whole deal, like I just mentioned, is school culture. And we can all agree that right now, with the very nature of what we are doing in schools and sometimes out of schools, outside the brick and mortar, it's imperative that we are very cognizant and intentional with our approach to social emotional learning, performance, character, and everything in between. So as we get going, a little bit about myself, because I do recognize several people on this call. I am probably new to a lot of you on this call. So a little bit about myself. My name is Michael Jennings. I am currently serving as the Director of Healthy Body at Athlos. I'm coming to you with about a decade of teaching experience, teaching physical education, coaching football for over a decade at just about every level. Been a strength and conditioning coach for several sports at a lot of levels. I've worked in the private sector. I'm coming to you with a master's degree in exercise physiology, as well as a master's degree in education with an emphasis in secondary education, curriculum, and assessment. And the reason I share this with you, and I think it's very important that I share it with you, is because my experiences have given me a lot of opportunities to experiment and to try and to be a part of a variety of different kind of organizational cultures. Whether it be a school, whether it be a class, whether it be a program or a team, I've been through it and I've been able to experiment and try things and see things and what works and what doesn't work. And we're going to dive into some of that today. Sorry about that. Just as I was saying, the end goal of this session is to really talk about kind of how we can tie in school culture and connect what we do across the three pillars of your schools to really kind of benefit this holistic development of our young people that are in our buildings. So again, the first point that we're talking about is just that, rounding out the educational experiences of our youth, right? And we're in a very unique situation within the Athlos Academy's models, because we really do have that three-pillar focus that really allows us to hit on things that are oftentimes missed in other school settings. we're going to be recognizing the inherent connections between healthy body and performance character. And this is absolutely paramount to understand. And so we're really going to focus on what's happening naturally and why it's so important to put these emphases on these specific areas in our day. We're going to discuss some tools and resources that are going to help support this development. These are tools that you already have and some that are going to be coming down the pike and this upcoming school year. And then, as I've mentioned, we're going to tie this all together with how kind of we can use these tools and use these resources to promote this positive school culture. Now, before we dig in, however, I do have to say, I've made mention about trying to get everybody to kind of, mute yourself, but be actively engaged in the lesson by the session by turning on your camera. It's going to be very important because we are going to be using the breakout rooms. And so we are going to be communicating, and we've randomly assigned you a team for this session. And so you're going to have to bear with me. I've never done this before. I'm using all of you as a guinea pig, and I'm super excited about it. But I've assigned you a team, and you're going to be with this team throughout the entire session. Whether it's breakout rooms or whether it's individual question and answer, you're going to be representing this group of people, right? So it's very important that you remember your group number. I didn't have time necessarily to give you some bunch of fancy names and things. If you want to refer to yourself as the Philadelphia Eagles, hey, I'm not going to be mad about that. That's totally cool with me. But like I said, it's important that you notice who's in your group and what your group number is, because you will be awarded points throughout this entire session. So now that I've gotten your attention with points, right? How do we get points? Okay, well, you get points after a breakout. So we're going to have a handful of breakouts throughout this entire session that are only going to be about a minute, 2 minutes, maybe even 3 minutes long, and then some short share outs after each breakout session. And so if your group can come up with, and your team can come up with thoughtful and unique responses to the kind of the prompts, then you'll earn some points. We're also going to have opportunities where there's going to be specific questions that you as an individual can respond either in the chat box or by unmuting yourself and chiming in. And if you have thoughtful responses to those prompts, then you can earn some points that way as well. So just keep that in mind as we're moving forward. I think this could be a lot of fun. The first thing that we are going to do in this first breakout room is we're going to watch a few short video clips. And I apologize, it might be a little bit of lag, but you'll get the idea. The video clips are very short. And after we get through these videos, I'm going to put you into your teams, and you're going to have 2 minutes to discuss with your team and determine the answer to one simple question. And that question is, what did you see? At the end of those 2 minutes, you're going to have to come up with somebody to take an initiative, somebody to take a leadership role to be able to determine 3 to 5 individual words within or answering that question, what did you see? And those individual words can't be like, well, we were thinking about this, because that's 5 words, right? It's got to be very quick, okay? Quick and to the point. So without further ado, we're going to watch this quick little video, and then I'll throw you into your breakout rooms. So again, we're looking at 2 minutes with your breakout groups to be able to come up with 3 to 5 words, and then have one leader come up and share those 3 to 5 words after the breakout group. So I'm going to be moving you into your breakout groups right about now. And you will be in those breakout groups, like I said, for 2 minutes. I will be popping around from group to group to kind of see what's going on, see how people are doing, and I'll try to give everybody a little bit of a warning when it's time to come back. So, good luck. So let's do this. Let's start off with whoever was the leader or is the leader for group 1. So breakout room number 1. Why don't you unmute yourself and share your 3 to 5 individual words.
All right, that's me, team 1, breakout room 1. Our words were teamwork, frustration, emotional, and defeat.
Awesome. Very, very good. Thank you very much. Handful of points rewarded to team 1 and team 2.
This is Belinda, and I am speaking for team number 2 that had Lorena, Kim, Terry, Amy, Victoria, and myself. And our words were defeat, grief, emotion, sportsmanship, and passion.
Emotions. I like that. Passion is a good one. Awesome. Team 3.
Ours were frustration, failure, support, team, and greatness.
A lot of support, a lot of team. Good. Team 4.
Team 4, Shauna, Courtney, Consuela, Matthews, LT Most, and Jocelyn. Our words were anguish of defeat.
Good. Team 5.
All right, so since I'm Aaron and speaking for team 5, we had triple D, so agony, anguish, defeat, despair, and disappointment.
Oh, very good. Maybe a bonus point. Very thoughtful. And I believe last but not least, team 6.
Team 6 was myself, Chrissy, and Randy. We had sportsmanship, passion, defeat, grit, and disappointment.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we're going to go through that same exact exercise with another short video. So this time in the breakout room, we are going to limit this to be a little bit quicker now that we know what's going on. So I'm looking at about a minute. The only trick is you're going to have to find a new leader to share out the second time around. So 1 minute, 3 to 5 words after this video. I will, again, remind you of that once we get going. So after this video. So 1 minute once you get back into your teams. And like I said, this is the first time I'm doing this, so I'm hoping that we can get back in the exact same thing. Recreate all rooms. There we go. Perfect.
Unless we're on the same
ladies and gentlemen,
team.
I do apologize. I do apologize very much. The breakout room didn't work quite as much as I'd like that time. But I'm going to continue to work through this, and I think it's going to work out regardless because I have the list of teams. I have everything down. we still would like to have people share out. So whoever was in this iteration of group 1, please go ahead and share out what 3 to 5 words you came up with.
All right, we came up with victory, perseverance, support, respect, and compassion.
Awesome. I like perseverance quite a bit. Group 2.
We came up with, maybe I
There's a
changed
lot of
words.
people from group 2.
Team 2 is our group, I think, right, guys?
That's
I
correct.
don't know. I don't know. That was Darren, Terry, Christina.
Yep.
I don't know what our group number was.
Yeah, we're the deuce. We were number 2.
You were 2.
2. Okay.
Okay, so number 2 is honor, sportsmanship, teamwork, camaraderie, and pain.
Very good. And the new group 3.
Group 3, we had grit, sportsmanship, courage, and perseverance.
Very good. Group 4.
Compassion, humility, perseverance, determination, and respect.
Thank you very much. Noted. Group 5.
Is that our group?
Sure.
Oh,
Why
okay.
not?
All right.
Sure.
So
If it's not, we'll give you bonus points. How about that?
we do, because here's why. We got grit and humility, which are 2 traits. So we feel like we are deemed 2 extra credit points. Plus we have endurance, compassion, and willpower. So woot woot for our team.
Big woo woo. I'm on board with that. Very good. Thank you. And group 6.
We also had grit, humility, empathy, compassion, and perseverance.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to do this one more time. We're going to watch one more video, and it's very short again. And I think after free agent season, and we have everybody signed to their official teams, I think all contracts are valid through this next round. So I think I figured it out. Your new team will be whoever you're on this round. Okay, so that's, I'll remind you of that as we get going. But your new team for the rest of the round, for the rest of the session, will be whoever you're on after this video.
Oh, no.
Nope, are we paused?
The video stopped.
There
There you go.
So again, one more minute. Whichever team you are on this round should be the same as last time. And with that being said, this is your new team. So whatever breakout room you are in with whoever you are with is going to be who you're stuck with. So hopefully it's a good one, folks. 1 minute. So again, hopefully those were the same. That was the same as round 2 and round 3. We will have one more breakout room later on. And then again, we will have individual conversations. We will have individual possibilities for points here in a little bit as well. So the new and final and official Team 1.
Team 1, we came up with celebration, fortitude, determination, victory, and strength.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Good points right there. And Team 2.
We had joy, jubilation, greatness, accomplishment, and focus.
Greatness. I like it. Team 3.
Team 3, the Divas. Happy, grit, victory, and pride.
Grit, one of my all-time favorite words. Pride, probably a close second. Very nice. And Team 3, or yes, Team 4, I should say.
Yep. We have triumph, success, accomplishment, celebration, and victory.
Very good. Team 5.
We had energy, zest, grit, victorious, and fulfillment.
Couple of performance character traits in there. Maybe throw a bonus point or two. Very good. Team 6.
All right, Team 6. We had achievement, accomplishment, celebration, joy, passion, love, exuberant.
Ooh, that might be the biggest word of the day, so I'll go ahead and put that one as a bonus point as well. Awesome job. So as we're sitting here and we're thinking about this and we're looking through this, again, kudos to everybody that took the initiative to show leadership and be a part of stepping up and speaking out on behalf of your team. Some words that I really loved, right, that from all the videos: teamwork, frustration, right, emotions, defeat, greatness, joy, grit, pride, support, celebration, fortitude. All of these things that I'm hearing, whether they're performance character traits or not, all of these things that I'm hearing are everyday feelings and emotions of life, right? Of everything that we do. And some of them are going to be more pronounced than others at different times. Some of our students are going to feel these differently at different times, right? So we have an opportunity now. Just a quick question. Whoops. Quick question, a scoring opportunity for an individual. I've got the chat box pulled up. The first couple answers in the chat box will earn points for your team. Okay. Why do you think we watch these videos? First couple, got to type quickly. Discuss emotions and how we feel. Good. Teach teamwork, understanding, connection. Ooh, I love that. Connection. Who said connection? Nobody else say connection after I just said Christina. Nice. Connection. See how emotions play a part. Perception. See character traits in athletics. Okay. Establish a common understanding of teamwork. Boom, boom, boom. All of those. I'm going to give points to the first 5 in there. Great job, everybody. Perfect. Perfect. All of those answers are absolutely correct. Every single one of them. And just to be more specific, right? You know, it shows that movement, physical activity, physical challenge, sport, they elicit a great breadth of emotion, right? And a great breadth of feelings and performance character traits, right? We've heard them all, we've seen them all, and that's all coming from, obviously, like you've seen, both team and individual sports. I'm looking at it from a lens of meaningful movement opportunities. And I know that some people are on this call are thinking right now, well, those are all top level athletes. Those are all big time scenarios, right? We've probably recognized Tiger Woods' shot or Michael Jordan's shot, right? If you're in the weightlifting world, you probably recognize Thor, the mountain, deadlifting 1,000+ pounds, right? So yeah, those are all, that's really, really true. But check out this quick video, right? There's no sound. You don't need sound to see the emotion on these young people's face after completing a physical challenge. Right? You can just see it in their eyes and in their emotions. They've probably spent hours trying to flip these silly water bottles, hours and hours and hours, but they do it. Right? And I challenge you, and I'm not trying to be negative and I'm not trying to knock the National Spelling Bee, but I don't think when a student wins the spelling bee, they react with this type and this amount of emotion. There's something to movement and that mind-body connection that we have that is absolutely inherent in every day. And so it's very important that we remember that and that we recognize the things that are happening, right? And we recognize this connection and how we can utilize this to our advantage. See this last one because this is pretty impressive. Audio, and if you want to give me a thumbs up on your screen, you can hear my voice. Can anybody hear me now? We'll just stay on this. Cool. So what I was saying, I don't know where I left off, but what I wanted to get home to you is to understand the inherent connection between the mind and the body, right? And specifically emotions that we feel that are derived from physical activity, physical challenge, sport, whatever you want to call it, any meaningful movement opportunities provide this intense amount of emotion that we need to be able to harness if we want to move forward and develop these holistic traits and characteristics and eventually provide a positive school culture in our buildings. So what stands out to me more than anything else after looking at all of these videos? Well, one, it's very clear that the amount of emotion and the number of performance character traits that just are displayed naturally, right? And two, you've noticed even if it was an individual event or a dual event, how social the experience was. Right? And what I mean by social is that connection that we saw present, right? When somebody helped somebody else, when somebody celebrated and jumped into the arms and grasped somebody else that maybe was a coach, maybe it was a teammate, right? Those two things are paramount in developing the school culture that we know is so important to be able to provide the students in our buildings, right? And so those connections, well, what is connection? It's simply put, a connection is anything that makes something more than what it is individually, right? Connection gives us as human beings the ability to be a part of something more and something bigger than ourselves. Since the dawn of man, right, since the dawn of humankind, we have been social creatures. We have needed and yearned for connection with other people. We could not have done it alone. And people that try to do things on their own oftentimes struggle. We need others and we need those connections present in our day-to-day. And there's no difference in that from a company, a school, a team. It does not matter. Those connections are the absolute bedrock of school culture. So one more another scoring opportunity in the chat box very quickly. What should connection look like in a school building? First couple answers get points. What should connection look like in our school buildings? Never be alone. I love it. Communication, teamwork, collaboration. Very good. Ooh, Mr. Nicely throwing in 3 words. Awesome. Student to teacher, that's important. Good way to recognize that. I'm going to cut it off at Terry. Very good job. Points awarded. Togetherness, I like that. Okay. Well, in a nutshell, folks, right? Connection can take many forms. And unfortunately, sometimes we think of it just as a person-to-person connection, which isn't always the case, although that's very, very important, right? Obviously, a key one is student and teacher connections, right? Personal connections, not necessarily using last names, but using first names or nicknames, right? It's school leadership and teachers. It's school leadership and families involving all stakeholders. It's students and the custodial staff, right? Maybe the custodians use mirror markers and write a nice little message, welcome back, right? Welcome back to school. How easy of a connection is that with the students, right? It's students to a course, athletic movement, for example. It's athletic movement to performance character and everything in between. Everything we do within a school building should be connected intentionally, and it should be recognized. We should be recognizing that connection, whether it's athletic movement to geography or the custodial staff to athletic movement or teacher to teacher or staff to staff, it does not matter. We must emphasize those connections. We can think of these connections, right? We can think of this process, if you will, or a network, right? We've all seen this, the science, the research, the data, everything shows very clearly that if we have regular movement opportunities and we intentionally recognize social and emotional learning and performance character, and that improves students' well-being, equates to improved performance character, which is one of our 3 pillars, and thus improved school culture. Right? But none of that can happen without connection. Think of connection as these little stairwells that are connecting box to box. If we get rid of those, no matter where you're at in this network, no matter where you're at in this kind of progression, you can't move up, you can't move forward. And so we have to keep that in mind. Without maintaining the positive connections, we cannot move forward. So what does this look like? Well, I am firmly and vehemently believe in this statement. Athletic movement in general should be the catalyst for positive school culture, should be the catalyst for performance character development, in addition to all the health and physical activity benefits that we provide. The classroom provides the necessary supports to keep moving up that ladder. And the whole school needs to fully embrace this idea and these connections and these recognitions in order to give our students the best possible opportunities to be successful, the best opportunities to grow and have that holistic development, which we know is so paramount. It really does take a whole school to truly develop the whole child, right? It's no different than that phrase that we've heard 1,000,000 times. It takes a village, and it could not be further from the truth. It can't be done in one class, it has to be done throughout the entire school. So what does this look like? In an ideal world, following these progressions, moving forward, doing all the things that we need to be doing in athletic movement as the catalyst, right? We practice performance character, okay? And by practice, you see I have that in quotes. We're not doing anything differently, right? We need to intentionally recognize what is happening naturally within meaningful movement opportunities. We need to call attention to those occurrences, and we need to make those connections both to the real world and to other classes. What does it look like in the classroom? Providing those supports, right? We need to provide meaningful movement as often as we can. As often as we can. We need to echo that recognition that's happening in our athletic movement classes in order to support the holistic development intentionally. I'm going to sound like a broken drum, or excuse me, a broken record, and I apologize, but it has to be intentionally. We can't just be willy-nilly with what we talk about. We need to be on the same page. And again, as you can see, a common theme, make connections. Whole school, we need to be rowing in the same direction. Everybody. And I know that we've heard that phrase before, and oftentimes when we hear we need to be rowing in the same direction, we think of it as, well, of course, it's a rowboat. If one paddle's going one way, the other paddle's going another way, you're going to spin in circles. That's absolutely true. But even more than that, taking it one step deeper, this whole rowboat analogy, if you've ever been in a boat with multiple people that each have a paddle or an oar, and you happen to be in the front, you can get splashed by anybody at any time. If they're not working together, if they're not working in the same direction as you, that person behind you, if they're doing their own thing, right, you're going to get soaked, you're going to get mad, you're going to get upset because they're not doing the things that we should be doing to go in the same direction. So not only are we spinning in circles, but we're also getting frustrated, right? The whole school needs to be celebrating this movement and performance character kind of melting, right? Everything and any opportunity we can to be talking about and recognizing movement and performance character. We need to, as a school, build that village and cultivate those connections. Scoring opportunity. One more time with a breakout group. I'm going to give you a little bit of extra time now, and then we're going to synthesize, have one new leader. We're going to synthesize, a 30-second response to what are barriers or a barrier, whichever one you want, to some of the things that I just talked about. Whether it's cultivating the connections, whether it's making the connections, whether it's providing meaningful movement, what are they going to be, right? What are those barriers? What have we encountered right now? What are we struggling with as we speak? So I'm going to give you about 3 minutes, and then we'll have a 30-second, very quick share out. And here they come back to us. So again, 30 seconds, very, very quick, just because I want to try to be cognizant of everybody's time. And we do have a few more things that I would like to touch on today. So 30 seconds, if I could have one person from Team 1, preferably a new leader from Team 1, share out just a barrier or barriers that might be kind of hindering us at this time. Team 1.
All right. We say we always start out with good intentions, but we let obstacles get in the way from doing the work that we feel is very important to do. So we need to be consciously aware to do the things that are important for our students.
I think that's a really good point. I think consciously aware is a very, very good point. Thank you very much. Team points awarded to Team 1. Great job. Team 2.
I think the one that sticks out the most for our team was lack of alignment to a common mission. That could be a barrier to accomplishing these goals.
I think that, personally, I'm going to give you 4 bonus points for that, +4. I'm writing down on the scorecard right now, because I think that is absolutely one of the biggest struggle points for many, many people to be successful. Whether it's a team, a school, it does not matter, is a lack of common mission. Everybody rowing in that same direction. Great. Team 3.
Team 3, we would like our 10 bonus points, please. We are fear of the unknown, because you just don't know what's going on. And the epic of what's taking place is just fearful that you just don't know. So can we have bonus points 10, please?
I like the fact of fear. I think that's really good. I'm going to compromise. Let's do 6.5 bonus points. How's that?
We're not scared. We got this.
Thank you. Darren, you don't have nothing to say.
Team 4.
All right, I'm Team 4 this time. Uncertainty with our school openings and plans that we're still trying to solidify with things changing, having struggles with just planning and implementing new initiatives, connecting to families and communicating and making sure that we have equity among all students.
Very good, very good. And that is, I mean, if this was a tweet right now, it would be #truth, right? That's absolutely a very good point. Points awarded Team 5.
We took it with the healthy body pillar in mind at our group. And one of our barriers is really grasping a firm understanding of culture and diversity, especially like the majority of our staff tends to be white Caucasian, but our students are very heavily diverse. And so we're slowly starting to think of what kind of activities can we implement into our school that would allow them to participate. So I think the lack of understanding the culture and to be able to bring sports to our school. So that's one of our biggest barriers right now.
That's a great point. The current landscape is definitely, there's definitely a need for EDI focus, right? That equity, diversity, and inclusion. I think sports in general play a big role in kind of developing that culture and giving people something more to be involved in. So I think that's a really great point. Team 6.
Yeah, we took it as around movement in the classroom and the healthy body perspective as well. And one of the biggest barriers we came up with was, previous personal experience with regards to movement, physical activity, physical education as being a big barrier, just a person's belief around it. And then the second part was, told you guys I was going to forget, man. It was time. So like feeling like trying to accomplish a lot of things and oftentimes maybe forgetting about that component of things. If it's not on the, if your personal experience wasn't real good around it, it's not on the forefront of your mind of something that need to get in. And so, yeah, belief in time.
Absolutely. Two really good points. I mean, we all know as we get older, and I guess, I will definitely speak from my own experience. And if my wife were on this call, she'd tell you, I get a little bit more stuck in my ways the older I get. And I think that's natural, right? And so if we can get these things to people at an early age, it prevents what we are currently finding ourselves kind of dealing with at times. So I think very good points there as well. So the things, that kind of everybody had a really kind of wide range of responses. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I wanted to take a few minutes in this session to kind of point out some tools and resources that we currently have at our disposal that can help with that consistency, can help with that emphasizing the importance of different things, that can help with leading us in the same direction, that can help with us kind of provide things that are, maybe take away that fear of the unknown or that uncertainty, right? By providing as much kind of ease and as prescriptive as necessary, as prescriptive as desired kind of tools and resources. So all of this, again, will be just a review, but I just wanted to point out kind of how this all works together and is tied together. So again, back to that catalyst, right, of this progression of this movement to a positive school culture, starting with athletic movement. As many of us are aware on this call, we have a specific piece of our daily lesson plans geared towards reviewing, recognizing, and reflecting on what's going on not only in the lesson, but what's going on with performance character, what's going on with that social emotional piece and that school culture piece as well. Right? We have these specific protocols that we can use that help us to efficiently and effectively reach these stagnant points, right? Where we can really kind of call out, how did performance character play a part in this? And so we do that on a regular basis in athletic movement. From a classroom standpoint, right, when we're giving these supports to what is happening in movement, something that we have also for you is the movement break guide, right, where we have tons of outlined activities that, again, are as prescriptive as desired. You can take them, read them, and make them your own, or you can take them and do them verbatim from the quote-unquote script, right? But these are great opportunities to, again, further that connection with athletic movement and our classrooms. It only takes one email to our athletic movement coaches or our APCs to know, hey, what are you working on? What movement breaks would you recommend for this week? And then I can really tie those in from what's happening in athletic movement and really make it relevant and more relevant and more relevant as my classes progress, right? And in that movement break guide, we have information broken down for you, whether it's overall health benefits, SEL benefits, academic benefits, or what I know I am personally very excited about is that kind of physical development, right? So we have these things for you to help with that connection from athletic movement into the classroom. Okay, we also have in the classroom huddles. Okay, these are about 70 activities that are, again, very prescriptive, that intentionally outline specific performance character traits. This, again, can and should be connected with what's going on and what's being recognized and emphasized in athletic movement. A simple email conversation or a team meeting, whatever the case may be, can get this done very, very, very efficiently. Each school should be aware of kind of the suggested frequency, timing, and duration of these classroom huddles. There are 70 of them, so there are more than enough. In my opinion, there should never be a time when a classroom teacher is thinking, well, I just don't know what to do. We have an odd day today because we have an assembly, or we have an early out or a late start, so I only have 22 minutes with my students at this given time. Well, that's a perfect time to link in what's going on with performance, character, and athletic movement and healthy body into our classroom through the use of these huddles. So again, there shouldn't really be an excuse for not knowing what you can do, because we have this for you and you have this at your disposal. From a school community kind of approach, right, where we continue to cultivate those connections, we have the shout out cards, we have gift certificates, and not gift certificates, excuse me, but we have certificates and awards. All of these things that we can intentionally recognize when performance character is taking place, or when we see these developments in these movements forward in school culture, right? All of these things that we have, all of these things that I just shared with you are just a glimmer, just a glimpse of what we have available for you, that you'll have access to as the new school year rolls around. But again, it's important to remember that the athletic movement is the catalyst for this. We support in the classroom, and then we embrace in the school community. So this is a possible scoring opportunity, not a requirement. If anybody has any questions about those specific resources that I just mentioned, please go ahead and unmute yourself and go ahead and ask. If not, we can just keep on trucking. You guys are doing a great job.
So like, whose team is in the lead?
Team 4. But I'm going to go ahead and ask about the scoring card. Where do we find that fillable scoring card?
Well, because I'm the session leader, I didn't get the scorecard out to everybody ahead of time. That's my mistake. My apologies. I'm going to total this up on our last slide. So I'll let everybody know what's going on our last slide.
I don't know if I said that right. The little shout out card, is that on Canvas?
Pardon, say that one more time.
The fillable shout out card that you showed, they had the certificate and then the shout out card under it.
Yes, it's on Canvas.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions before we move on? Related to, obviously, what's going on. Okay. So these are some tools and resources that we've been developing this kind of past year in order to, again, try to ease the overcoming of these barriers. We were really excited about what we can continue to offer you as just more tools and options kind of in your toolbox, right? We know that a hammer is not the only thing a contractor brings to a construction site. We know that. We can't just rely on building a home with just a hammer. It takes a lot of tools in the toolbox. That's what we're trying to provide with everybody, or for everybody on this call. So as we move forward, some new tools and resources for athletic movement. I've been telling you a ton throughout this time that, you know, we have a need to recognize intentionally what's happening naturally in our classes. And that's kind of challenging to do. And so what we've created for you is 36 weeks of 5 days a week recognition scripts. And what these recognition scripts are, and I'll show you in a moment, is it's not a curriculum. It's not a follow this or else. It is just a support tool to help us implement and integrate what's going on naturally in our classes, right? These recognition scripts that can be used throughout our athletic movement lessons can also be printed off and put on the desk of a classroom teacher to help with prompts and questions. I also have for you a template that you can create your own. You can create a bank maybe within your own school's Canvas instance where you're creating your own recognition scripts for a given week with specific traits, performance character traits in mind. So what this looks like is just a simple 5-day calendar. I've given every day of the year 180 different quotes that relate to a specific trait. So as you can see at the top of this week is just focused on curiosity. Right, and so we have a different quote of the day for each one of those, each one of the days of the week. We have some just suggested ways to introduce the trait for that given day. And this, again, is all in athletic movement, but can be used in the classroom. And then some very simple questions or prompts. Maybe it's just a, hey, I wonder if this will work type statement, or how do you know that you displayed curiosity here? Just things along the lines to kind of get the wheels turning and juiced up in your brain so we can recognize what is happening intentionally. And then, of course, like I mentioned earlier, we have that last word focus at the end. In the classroom, we have created some benchmarks that are based off of the Athlos athletic curriculum level, so level 1, 2, 3, or 4, so that's kindergarten and first grade, second and third grade, third and fourth, and so on, that are age appropriate. They're aligned to CASEL competencies, the SEL competencies, the 5 basic SEL competencies, and they're just a reference tool, as I've mentioned a ton of times before, to give us a kind of common target to reach towards. Right? So these are just benchmarks based off of every single performance character trait. What should we see, or what would we like to see at each one of these levels? And this provides classroom teachers, and the entire school for that matter, something that they can work towards, or at least they know this is where we're headed, right? Aligned with those benchmarks, we do have a self-assessments that are, again, perfectly aligned with those, where they're just a bunch of I can statements that are geared off of those benchmarks that we've created. We can give these to our students in the classroom. It takes no time at all, and collect and see where our students and where our student population stands with regard to meeting these benchmarks. As usual, as I mentioned earlier, we do have templates if you'd like to create your own. Some of you might have more specific ideas in mind. Some of you might have performance character teams at your school that you want to create this and make this unique to St. Cloud, or make this unique to Jefferson Parish. Totally fine, you have that ability. Again, the goal is to be as prescriptive as desired. And from a school community standpoint, we have outlined for you a performance character trait calendar, which aligns coincidentally with the traits and the quotes that are on those performance character scripts that we can have in our classrooms and in athletic movement. So if, for example, we're on Curiosity Week 1, we have a Monday quote. Everybody in the school has access to that quote and can put it on their marker board, their bulletin board. They can say it over the announcements, right? And this ensures a unified message and a unified movement of positive school culture in our classes and in our school communities. We have parent and family handout or engagement handout letters that we can be sent home, whether printed or email, that just talk about the traits. Doesn't require anything. It's just, hey, here for your information. How can you help build humility at home? What can you do to help, develop grit in your young people that you live with, right? Whatever the case may be. And again, as usual, templates for creating your own. These are, before we get into the possible scoring opportunity, these are not available to you yet, but they will be available come the beginning of the school year, hopefully once we get back going and really kind of getting into the meat of prepping for the school year. So again, those will be available to you in the same areas as your current offerings that you have. So one last scoring opportunity. If you have any questions about the new resources, please go ahead and unmute yourself and let me know.
Just to clarify, you mentioned that there was a calendar that would be available?
Yes, there will be a suggested calendar that lays out the 36 weeks of the school year. And what we have it laid out for right now is to go through 1 week at a time with an emphasis, not a curriculum, not changing anything that you're doing, but with an emphasis on a specific quote for an entire week. And we can go through those 3 times roughly throughout the course of a year. So we have 3 different kind of grit weeks, if you will, 3 different optimism weeks, if you will, that provide everybody with that unified approach where we know everybody's going in the same direction and we know everybody's speaking the same language.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions before we start to wrap things up? All right. Well, then in closing, as we get to finishing up the time, I wanted some key points to drive home. I want everybody to remember the natural connection between healthy body and performance character. Remember the natural and inherent things that happen when we strive to achieve something that we do physically, not just mentally. Because think back to those kids flipping those water bottles, right? Not only were they spending time and, showing grit by hours and hours of flipping, right? But they were also, whether they know it or not, they're also learning. Right? And they have no idea that they were learning about fluid dynamics. They have no idea that they were learning about the changes of force that are necessary. They have no idea that they're learning about the finesse and soft touch. And it's not their fault. Just like it's not their fault, they don't know the emotional things and the performance character traits that they are practicing and developing through this movement. That's why it's important for us to intentionally recognize. Right? It takes a whole school to develop the whole child. It really does take a village. We need to build that village, live in it, and love it. This is not a curriculum, and we don't want it to be a curriculum. Okay? A lot of research shows that curriculum does not necessarily improve or maintain school culture. Just like a curriculum doesn't necessarily build or maintain performance character. It truly does, like I mentioned a second ago, take the whole school. It needs to be ingrained, embedded, and naturally baked into everything that we do. Which leads me to my last key point, is we need to be intentional with how we speak, how we think, and how we act. Just like, for example, in putting you with these teams, and by intentionally recognizing you with points, and we putting you together and connecting you with something more than yourself, just in this hour and 15 minutes have developed a microculture amongst yourselves, right? Because I connected you with somebody more than just you, and I recognized you with points. I never even made mention of keeping score. I never made mention of prizes. I never made mention of winning and losing. But because I was recognizing your outgoingness, because I was recognizing your performance character traits, you felt connected to something more than you. And you know how I could tell? Because like I said at the very beginning, I am a gallery view person. I see almost all of your faces at any given time. And I saw people get excited when their team earned points. I heard, everybody saw it in the chat box, talking smack and cheering and woos and yippies and all sorts of things. We created that culture intentionally by how we thought, how we talked, and how we acted. And that's what we can do in our school if we embrace school-wide healthy body and performance character. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I had an absolute blast. I've been looking forward to this talk for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I think it was really great. I hope you took something away from it. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, we have 2 minutes. I got long-winded at the end. We have 2 minutes. Otherwise, hey, I can hop back on a call later on. I'm here for a little bit.